All right, so welcome back to our last segment on the Katha Upanishad. So far, I think we've learned a lot. We've learned that we all have an imperishable, undying Atman inside us, maybe the size of a thumb sitting in our hearts, and that we can gain freedom from death by recognizing the infinitude of this Atman of ours. Now, to wrap up the teachings, the Upanishad goes on to explain how we can perceive this Atman within us if it's not perceptible at all. And that's the kind of the $1,000,000 question that's being asked. And the $1,000,000 answer is a very ancient version of something you kind of already might have heard about, which is yoga. So let's check it out. When the five perceptions are stilled together with the mind, and not even reason bestirs itself, they call it the highest state. When the senses are firmly reined in, that is yoga, so people think. From distractions, a man is then free, for yoga is the coming into being as well as the ceasing to be. I kind of like this, right? This restraint that you get through yoga can allow you to recognize the immortal nature of the Atman that lies within your now fully restrained body. Not by speech, not by mind, not by sight can he be grasped. How else can that be perceived other than by saying he is? In just two ways can he be perceived: by saying that he is, and by affirming he's the real. The one who perceives him as he is, it becomes clear that he is real. In other words, there are two ways to gain spiritual enlightenment: through a kind of faith, where you just say that he is, or through a kind of experiential knowledge, where one affirms the reality of that thing that is, right? The Atman. The result of all this is that the Katha Upanishad kind of brings a kind of conclusion to this whole discussion about death, rebirth, and ultimate liberation. When they are all banished, those desires lurking in one's heart, then a mortal becomes immortal and attains Brahman in this world. When the knots are all cut that bind one's heart on earth, then a mortal becomes immortal, for such is the teaching. 101 the veins of the heart. One of them runs up to the crown of the head. Going up by it, he reaches the immortal. The rest, in their ascent, spread out in all directions. A person the size of a thumb in the body always resides within the hearts of men. One should draw him out of the body with determination, like a reed from the grass sheath. One should know him as immortal and bright. One should know him as immortal and bright. What an ending, right? The Katha Upanishad then gives one final verse that returns to that main frame story about our boy Nachiketas and kind of closes off his narrative. Then, after Nachiketas received this body of knowledge and the entire set of yogic rules that were taught by death, he attained Brahman. He became free from aging and death. So will others who know this teaching about the self. So there you have it, one complete Upanishad and the ancient speculative philosophy that developed within this Upanishad about death, about the afterlife, Brahman and Atman, and the pathways that your Atman can take to get to Brahman, right, to immortality. As we bring this session to a close, it might be worth taking a minute or two to reflect on how radically different this message is now from that early Vedic mythology or the late Vedic ritual that we were looking at in previous sessions. The pathway to immortality now doesn't take you to the fire ritual. It doesn't take you to Soma. It doesn't take you to sacrificing horses or goats or cows or to worshiping the gods even. Instead, this path takes you where? Inside yourself, to that cave within your heart, where you have to find a shining thumb-sized man, a tiny sliver of that infinite, imperishable, ultimate Brahman that we're all trying to get to in order to escape growing old, suffering, death, and rebirth. What a huge change in religiosity, right? Well, it turns out that all of these ideas, these new ideas, rebirth, karma, renunciation, knowledge seeking, the inner path, these all are also shared by other major non Vedic religions that had their origins around the same time, 500 BC, in North India. I'm talking about Jainism and Buddhism, and these are what we're going to turn our attention to, these two important religious traditions, in our next two stops in our long train ride through ancient Indian cultural history. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Unless, of course, you do manage to find that thumb-sized man within your heart and do some yoga and find that third step of Vishnu.